This is a tough one. I like talking about Zelda, and I like talking about Zelda dungeons. I'm doing Majora's Mask dungeon right now, and this is the third one that I'm doing. Being winter month, I thought it would be a good time to talk about the Snowhead Temple. But as I begin to write this script, I am unsure of what to cover in this dungeon. Honestly, I'm unsure how I feel about this dungeon. So my thought is I would just start talking and seem to come to a conclusion about this place. I feel like I should have an opinion about it. I've played it before in Winter Channel. Actually, I've actually faced the boss on in Zone before too, so this is gonna be the third video about this dungeon. I should have more of a feeling about this dungeon, just kind of a strong opinion about it. I guess it's like a Patrick Bateman situation where I just feel nothing.
I simply am not there.
So what is this dungeon? This is the Snowhead Temple. It is the second dungeon in Majora's Mask. The game is a sequel kind of to Ocarina of Time. It takes a weird spin on many things from that game and meshes them into what is a pretty fun game. You find the temple to the north. You go past the mountain village and Goron's new home to find it. It is a snow cave inside this peak of Snowhead Mountain. Very secluded location in this area and game. It's also quite snowy, which Snowhead makes sense as the entire area is covered in snow, which does look like I picked an accurate video for Winter Month. It is odd though of this location for the dungeon, especially as this is a Goron dungeon. The Goron tribe are rock-jacked creatures that survive in hot, rocky climates. This is not that. I get that winter can be harsh and such for even the hottest of places, but this is just so odd to see the Gorons in this climate. They can't access the rocks or anything. All they seem to be doing is just suffering. The game does try to be a strange, weird follow-up to the Ocarina of Time, so seeing the Gorons in the exact opposite climate what they're supposed to be, it does really make sense for that theme. But no doubt it's weird to see them here. Focusing more on the dungeon itself, the design is pretty unique. You can see from the outside that it's a tall, spear-like dungeon, and it's unique because the dungeon actually plays out like this design. Or at least it kinda does. You enter at the top, but then you end up at the bottom of the spire in the dungeon. I don't really get how that one works. The dungeon all revolves around this one very tall room. This room ranges from the basement up to the top floor 5. There are rooms to the side of this main chamber, which are quite important to getting around the dungeon. But the prominent room in this dungeon is the main chamber, which has got to be one of the most notable main chambers in any Zelda dungeon. It kind of rivals maybe the Wind Temple with the whole fan room, but I think this main chamber is used even more. I feel like they chose the design mainly to utilize Goron Link's rolling ability. Majora's Mask is a great game as it allows you to become many of the species in the Zelda universe. That includes putting on the Goron mask and becoming Goron Link. Its main ability is to curl up into a ball and roll off at high speeds. Speed so fast that you can jump over large gaps. And you know that main room of the dungeon? The higher up you get, you need Goron Link to jump off these ramps to get to the other side and progress forward. This dungeon design is perfect for Goron Link's rolls. It's also quite notable for the boss fight too, but I'll get to that in a bit. And I'll stick at this main room for a bit as this probably has the biggest puzzle. By pressing this switch, a massive pillar rises allowing you to access the top rooms. Any place that doesn't have a Goron Link jump, you would need this pillar to be able to walk across from one side to the other. You can also adjust the height of the pillar by breaking these ice blocks. I really like this element of the dungeon as it allows the layout itself to be a massive puzzle. You have to access this pillar at certain locations to be able to hit these ice blocks. And since the pillar rises in the way of the lower rooms, you can't cross many of the sections like you did before. So it forces you to think about these side rooms in the dungeon and figure out how you can use them to get to different locations in the main room. So many of the rooms you faced before, you have to revisit again, but this time with a whole different mindset. I really do like how this dungeon requires you to think about the layout this way, which I really love when levels do that. I also like how structured the dungeon items are in this game. The 4 dungeon items are all based around upgrading your bow for what makes the most sense in this dungeon. You get the generic bow in Woodfall, fire arrows in the icy Snowhead, ice arrows in the water Great Bay, and the light arrows in the Ascending to Heaven, Seeing the Light Stone Tower Temple. So for this dungeon, you get a tool that helps you melt many ice obstacles. It requires you to first beat up the Blue Man group member that has gotten old and he's getting quite cranky with his dementia. And once done, you can use it to access so much more of the dungeon. A lot of the side paths that you must go through has this ice block in the way. So by getting the fire arrows, you're allowed to explore even more of this dungeon. The final topic I need to talk about is the boss fight. It is the mechanical masked menace Goat. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Once you free it from the ice, it runs around mad in this circular room. This really has got to be one of the most unique boss rooms there has ever been. It's a round donut-like shape that goes around the top of the dungeon. Goron and Link must chase him and slam into him as much as possible to take him down. It's a simple way to attack him, but what makes it a little more interesting and fun is that rocks come flying at you and stalactites just fall in the way. Goat will also shoot electricity at you, especially if he gets a head start over you. And the weaker he gets, he'll start dropping bombs in the way. Look, this fight I won't say is perfect, as the Goron controls, they aren't exactly perfect either. But it still is a very, very fun fight. Alright, I've done what I said I would do and talked about this dungeon. So now I need to come up with a conclusion. Well, I didn't really get to that one. I got too busy just chatting about it. Look, I feel like most of these videos on YouTube don't actually have a point, or the point is beyond weak. So I guess this video right here can just join most of them. But I'll say it's a good dungeon. It's fun, it's unique, it's odd, but it has a layout that is used so well to be a puzzle itself. And I really do love that in dungeons. So yeah, it's a good dungeon.